So now we're going to talk about the grading rubric for the young adolescent novel study. This is one of the major assignments for MLED 610. And I'm going to go ahead and just scoot down here to the bottom so you can see that this assignment is worth the 150 points towards your total point value in the course. So it's worth more than say just a weekly discussion or a module discussion. Okay, and so the first thing, this is a different assignment, just as a reminder, than the literature discussion, the books we're reading for those. So this is not including Crash and Nerd Girls that we're reading for other assignments. This assignment is a book that you are going to choose, a novel that you're going to choose, and write a reflection on, and you're going to be doing that from a personal viewpoint, your sort of response and understanding of the novel as it relates to young adolescent development, as well as from information that you obtain from an interview that you have with a young adolescent reader. So this involves this assignment is going to require that you have established a relationship with a young adolescent to some degree in order to be able to talk with them about a book. Our suggestion, perhaps, for even starting this novel choice, you'll see that the first thing that you will need to do is to choose a novel and notify us of your title. There is a place on Blackboard for you to do that. It is listed as an assignment, and I believe it is in week 1 on the 29th, I think. You'll have to go and look, but it's noted there within that second week for you to, of September, the 29th, for you to decide which book it is that you are interested in reading. And the idea is that another a young adolescent that you are familiar with is also going to be reading this book. And so probably the best way to approach the novel choice is for you to communicate with a young adolescent that you know, whether it's a student of yours or someone a student that is in one of your classes, or just a young adolescent that you know, a family member, a niece or nephew, or a cousin, someone that you could talk with and ask them what they're reading. Because I think that's probably the best way to approach this rather than asking them to read a novel. And there's probably a variety of reasons of why that's a good approach, and one of those is just sort of knowing what we know about young adolescents. They like to be noticed and they like to have you show interest in them, and this would be one way of doing it, is just to sort of ask them what they're reading, what book that you're looking to meet a course requirement for this course, and that you'd like to choose something that they're reading, and would they be willing to talk with you about it. So as long as it's not Crash or Nerd Girls, it will probably be just fine. So it should give you we should have a wide range of titles, and it'll sort of help you also become familiar with what these young adolescents are reading. So anyway, once you've submitted that, we'll notify you via email sort of that you have been approved, and you can begin reading that novel. Okay. On this assignment, again, you need to include the academic conduct code statement. It's on the syllabus, and once you have done that, you need to also submit it with this assignment. If you turn it in without the statement, your assignment won't be graded, and you'll have to resubmit, and you'll have a grade penalty. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay, and so the idea here is that you are picking, I'm going to move over here to the side, you are going to pick 2 characteristics. So you're going to do this twice. Developmental characteristic 1, and then you're going to see down here too, this is another developmental characteristic 2. Okay, so it's the same thing, but you're choosing 2 different characteristics. And those characteristics we've narrowed a bit into this sort of categories. The physical, or intellectual, or social, or personal, moral, or sexual. So there's your sort of divisions. Personal and moral kind of can go together for this assignment. Okay? And so what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of those characteristics, and you're going to reflect on the novel that you read, use examples and references, approximately looking at 3 common characteristics, at least 3, of young adolescents, and as they relate to that developmental category that you choose. So if, for example, you choose physical characteristics, then you're going to look for 3 common characteristics of physical development and examine those in light of this novel. okay? And your reflection should demonstrate a well-developed understanding of that category as it's depicted in the novel, as well as your also content knowledge that you have acquired as a result of this course. And that, if you can see there, that's going to be your point spread there is 36 to 40 points for the 40 total, okay, is what you're aiming for. Okay, and so then once you've done that for one characteristic, you're going to do it again. Okay, but this time you're going to choose a different characteristic. It needs to be different than characteristic 1, obviously. And so you're going to do that piece again, but you're going to choose a difference. If you chose physical in the first one, you may want to choose intellectual for the second, for example. But the idea is that you're then having the opportunity to examine the novel once again through another characteristic. Okay, and so once you have read the novel, and once the adolescent that you have spoken with or has agreed to read the novel, or perhaps already read the novel even prior to you reading it, you're going to engage in a discussion of either an interview or having a book talk, however you want to frame it, with the adolescent about this particular novel. Okay, and so you want to make sure that you can agree on a time to do that. If it is a student at your school, you may want to speak with either your mentor teacher about figuring out a way to schedule that meeting with the young adolescent. Okay, and so now you're going to discuss it with the student who is also reading it, and include in your writing a discussion of approximately 3 aspects that the reader, the young adolescent reader, their comments or reactions that you find especially significant. I think that this gives you the opportunity to have a conversation with just a young adolescent in general, but then also to give you sort of a framework for having that discussion around a piece of literature. And the idea here is that often they will notice things that we do not. And so this is a great way for you to sort of pay attention. Some of those things may be in common with things that you've noted, but I would let them talk first and let them talk about the book, what they enjoyed, what they noticed, how it relates to the characteristics that you know, and you may want to frame those. I would certainly go into the interview with an idea of a few things that you want to ask the student, but also let the discussion kind of unfold a bit more authentically, and so that it doesn't feel too formal, and find out kind of what stood out to them in the novel, why they enjoyed the novel, and what kind of reactions they had to it. Okay, and so then you're going to have a discussion that compares and contrasts with your own reactions as an adult reader that you have considered, and also that you've learned from the perspective of the young adolescent. I mean, I think this is the point. Is again, these folks are going to have a different perspective and bring a different sort of slate of personality to the experience than we will, and certainly you're going to learn about characteristics of young adolescents just simply from this conversation. Okay, and again, this point range is from 32 points to 35 for that highest tier. Okay, and then after you've done that, the last piece that you're going to be looking at doing is considering what you've gained from this experience, right? Both from reading the novel yourself as well as from exploring that perspective of the young adolescent in terms of classroom and school application. Okay, so this does not necessarily mean if you're a language arts teacher, then that's fine. You could think about ways of sort of, perhaps even teaching this specific novel. But more so, this assignment is really about sort of learning to understand those characteristics of a young adolescent. And that is the goal with all of these novels that we're reading in this course, is really to sort of use them to sort of understand the middle schooler a bit more, or a bit more thoroughly. Okay, and so here you're going to think about your current instructional practice, or the intentions for it if you're not currently teaching, and sort of those current school structures and programming that are in place, perhaps at the school where you are interning, or the school where you work, or schools that you're familiar with, if that is necessary. Okay, and think about what you will do to work to change or improve your instructional practice or school structures and programming, and what you've gained from this experience in light of your overall learning or growth in this course. Okay, so it's really sort of taking what you've learned about an adolescent, what really stands out based on this discussion that you've had, as well as what you've read in this book, and this novel, and then sort of examine your own classroom practices, and as well as the school structure and programming. What things could be in place that would really help that student feel connected, or whatever stands out to you in that discussion. Okay, and again, this assignment is worth 150 points. And if you have questions, please make sure that you ask those in the Q&A open discussion.